HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
Good evening and welcome to The Bahamas Tonight, the weekend edition. I'm Andrew Knowles. Thanks for joining us. Topping the news, Prime Minister Perry Christie and his delegation are in Rome, Italy tonight, preparing to meet with the head of the Roman Catholic Church tomorrow. The Prime Minister's visit to Rome comes after leaving the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Sri Lanka. Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell confirmed that the visit and audience with the Pope will pay tribute to the tens of thousands of Roman Catholics in the Bahamas and to the Church's contribution to make peace and build up the common life of the Bahamas, especially their interest and support in restorative justice, migrant issues, AIDS support, and education. He revealed that the Prime Minister had to cancel a previous audience with the Pope's predecessor, John Paul II, during his first term in office. However, Pope Francis has kindly agreed to meet with Prime Minister Christie and his delegation on Monday. We'll have more details once they become available to us. In other news tonight, when the value-added tax is introduced in July of 2014, everyone will be required to participate, although ultimately consumers are the ones who will pay the tax. Businesses will collect the tax, and this means understanding how the tax works, what it applies to, and how you can save. At the first public forum on VAT, officials highlighted what consumers should know. Clint Watson explains.
It's important to know what are the exempted goods and services from value-added tax. Financial experts believe this will help you make better choices in spending your money. VAT consultant Pauline Peters says a tax will be charged at a rate of 15% or 10% reduced rate in the hotel sector. Exports and international travel are among those goods and services excluded.
Some of the citizens may not be, the level of the income would be reduced as a result of the fact that they would now have to pay VAT on most of the goods and services that are going to be available to them. However, for social policy reasons, there are going to be some exemptions so that those goods will be made available to citizens at a reduced rate or make it available to them without the VAT being applied to them.
VAT will be applied when goods are imported, although the $600 customs exemption will still be available. But an advantage for consumers is there is no filing requirement.
You'd make your purchase as normal, you would pay the VAT to the supplier, you would get your receipts, and that supplier would have the responsibility of accounting to the government for the VAT. And at the point of import, you would bring in your items, you would pay the VAT to the customs, and that will be the end of the process.
We should expect to see not only an increase in the price of goods, but now a charge for services that prior to value-added tax may have been free. For example, a dinner may cost $100. A 15% gratuity charge brings it to $115. Now add the 15% value-added tax and the total cost will be $130. Consumers are being urged to claim their receipts so they know how much value-added tax they've paid on a particular item. You should also monitor prices on the shelves.
Because the price will be displayed VAT exclusive, and when you get to the cash counter, you will be able to see the amount of VAT that is actually applied to that particular good or service. There may be a shift in consumption, because what will happen, given that there are going to be some items that are exempted from VAT, consumers will now be able to manage their consumption. You would find that consumers are being a bit more conscious with respect to how they spend their own money, what items they would spend their money on.
Registered businesses who are authorized to collect VAT will have a VAT-registered certificate displayed. An online register will also be available. Unregistered businesses, or those businesses providing exempt services like medical and financial services, cannot charge value-added tax. Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
From the crime beat tonight, police requesting any family with a missing relative to call them as soon as possible. This appeal comes as detectives probe the country's latest murder. What we know is that authorities learned around 9:40 last night that a man was found dead through a dirt road at the rear of the Hollywood subdivision, located off Cowpin Road East in southwestern New Providence. Police revealed the adult male sustained gunshot wounds to the head and back. Police say they have no motive yet for this homicide, and officer in charge of the Central Detective Unit Superintendent Paul Roll provided this description of the victim.
The male, he appears to be about 21 years of age, and he's wearing an Oakland Raiders cap. He's wearing a gold, or some people may call it yellow, t-shirt or shirt with the words Academia written on it, and a pair of Gucci blue jeans pants and a gray Nike Air Jordan tennis. The male seemed to have a low afro, probably about 3/4 of an inch. And so, persons hearing me, and you know your loved ones have left from home, fitting this description, and we would ask you to give us a call.
Meantime, police recovered 5 illegal firearms and arrested 2 suspects yesterday. Firearms tracing and investigations and drug enforcement unit officers made the gun seizures between 4:40 and shortly after 9 o'clock last night in several areas. But it was during the firearm seizure off Wolf Road when drug enforcement officers arrested 2 men, ages 27 and 58, after a handgun along with a quantity of ammunition was found. The 2 suspects are expected to appear in court early this week to face firearm-related charges. Intense investigations into all of these matters continue. A diving tournament at Dean's Blue Hole in Long Island turned tragic this afternoon after an American competitor died. Officers on Long Island tell ZNS News that the 32-year-old New Yorker had just finished diving and got up to the platform when about 30 seconds later he went unconscious and later died. We understand that the body will be flown into the capital for an autopsy to be performed to determine the cause of death. Officer in charge of the Grand Bahama District, Assistant Police Commissioner Emric Seymour, confirming to our news team today that investigations into that plane crash off Queens Cove exactly 1 week ago continues. Grand Bahama Police say shortly after taking off from the Grand Bahama International Airport, the single-engine Cyrus 22 plane reportedly crashed some 4.5 miles off Grand Bahama. Authorities later confirmed that the 4 passengers on board, identified as American citizens Glenn and Leslie Steiner of Arizona, Cindy Meza and Anthony Wishart of Indiana, died and the aircraft was destroyed. The Royal Bahamas Police Force, Civil Aviation Department and other associated agencies continue to investigate this incident. Well, Bahamas Public Services Union President John Pinder admits that the entire public service is guilty of double dipping in the National Insurance Fund due to some anomalies. The issue made headlines after Bahamas Electricity Corporation's chairman Leslie Miller accused corporation workers of reportedly double dipping on sick pay benefits. But now that the dialogue to correct the issue is in effect, Pinder suggests more accountability is needed when dealing with sick benefits.
Yes, the general public service, and that includes police, teachers, defense force officers, and other ranks and files within the public service, were able to, this term used now, double dip. Okay? Now that we are paying right contributions, that practice been discontinued. But the challenge is a number of persons who would receive a sickness benefit from NIB. In some of the government agencies, they are being made to have to give that into the employer. That's what I think is wrong. If you're entitled to it and you get it because of your contribution to NIB, then we need to wake something else out there so that a check written to me is not turned over to the employer.
And while the union president doesn't support the double dipping, he believes Mr. Miller isn't taking the right steps to correct the issue.
I understand what Mr. Miller is trying to do or trying to accomplish. In both instances, even with him trying to say that he's reducing energy costs to citizens, you still have to follow a protocol. You cannot unilaterally amend an industrial agreement between the employer and the union. And so I think that's the challenge there. He needs to come to the table with the union and negotiate certain parts of that to get out of it. But you can't just make statements as if you have the right to unilaterally make these changes.
When the weekend edition continues, a Junkanoo icon honored for his tireless contributions last night. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.